Hello YouTube, this is Shirley426 and today we have the review of the robot Damashii Efreet custom vert anime. Now once again, this was kind of unexpected for me, so I missed the pre-orders and I thought that was pretty much it. So I was expecting myself to later, when it comes out, when it actually releases physically, I thought I had to pay a few extra, like maybe 20 to 30% more prices than the original. But once again, yesterday in Korea, they actually officially released this at Gundam Base Korea, and I decided to go get one right away. So I consider myself lucky. And number two, and I would like to mention this right away, there will be no comparisons with the HGUC version. Number one, the HGUC version is a premium Bandai kit, but which I did review and own. Problem is that is at my parents' house. So yeah, there will be no comparisons. Once again, I did not expect them to actually release this at Gundam Base Korea physically. So at a shop, somewhere I can actually go physically buy. So which is why I didn't really prepare for this. This was kind of unexpected. So yeah. Anyway, let's get on to the review. And yes, I have successfully pre-ordered the Blue Destiny Unit 1 vert anime. So that one is on the list. Unit 2 and 3, I might skip those because those are pretty much practically the two same units, and we kind of know, and it's kind of expected what we can get from those two kits. So either way, let's see what we got. So once again, the Efreet custom, once again, a very iconic mobile suit as well. If you definitely know the Blue Destiny unit line, you can there's no way you can miss this unit as well. So I am very happy that they actually released this as a vert anime figure as well, and as a regular release. Alright, so as usual, let's go over components. So first of all, what you get, of course, is obviously the mobile suit itself. Absolutely loving the design proportions of it. Definitely has that anime-esque look design rather than the mechanical looks that we get from Gunpla. So I say that's a pretty good plus. And in terms of equipment, it's not much because this is the Efreet custom. Most of its other long range or non-close range weapons are attached to its body or legs. And here are the other stuff that you should be getting in terms of like parts. So number one, we get a spare antenna. So always good to have spares because these are one of the pieces that easily breaks all the time. And then once again, we get the typical hand rack. So number one, hands, we get 5 sets of hands. Currently, I am using the trigger finger hand. The reason why I'm using a trigger finger hand is because it definitely has a much more, how should I say, a more stable hand grip rather than these two hand grips that is mentioned on the manual. Because while these definitely have a much more stronger grip, the way how it holds the handle, I would personally say not exactly ideal. So yeah. Because while it holds it, I feel like I'm forcing the fingers to grab around the handle, which is normal. But once again, I feel like I'm forcing it to, so that might affect the grip here in the long run. So yeah. So here we have the standard hand that I assume this is the one that should be replacing the fist. So there's no dedicated fist, but yeah. And then here we have the other one, which allows you to hold beam sabers like in a more angle, while this one is a more straight line. And then here I'm using the trigger finger hand, and then we have two types of open hands: the fully open hand and then the semi-open hand. So nothing too special there, and these hand racks works very well as usual. Then we get, oh, sorry about that. And then we get this piece, which is actually connects to that action base connector here. So what this does is that it plugs in like there, and then you can connect your action base here. So it gives you an extra space and length to connect your action base. So that's always good because depending on how your action base looks like or the joints are, it could be very troublesome to actually attach it here. I've actually had that issues a few times. And once again, here's another thing I forgot to mention. Here we have the sheaths or the place or the connectors that holds the heat swords right over here. So originally, for those who know the Efreet custom from the Blue Destiny series, manga or even in the games, it's supposed to hold the swords like this. But with this, you can also, according to the manual, which I did not expect, you can actually take this round part out, and then you're left with a peg, a longer peg, and you can actually slap these on to the back peg like that. Now I know I know there might be a few Efreet variants out there in terms of like if you read like all the like Gundam manga or novels in detail, there might have been a few Efreets out there that maybe hold the swords like this, so who knows. But either way, I feel like this is a pretty good like small detail as well, and maybe this can also strike a few ideas for those who do customizations as well. So although it's very hard to pull it out at the moment, but yeah. It is a pretty interesting gimmick if you ask me. So I'm just gonna put this back and then slap this back onto the side for now. Alright, and then we have its signature main blade. So here we have the weapons. I'm glad they actually went with these two-tone colors rather than, because the Gunpla version, as far as I remember, number one, they would give you a gray version and then a clear orange version. Obviously I always use the orange version. The clear orange, but this one, yeah, I think they did an excellent job on the blades here. Loving the design and color scheme. To see that they have a orange base and the actual blade section is more of a gold color, so that's a very interesting combination. But absolutely love the designs of these blades. Alright, so that's enough for equipment, and here are the effect parts. So let's get over with the basic stuff. So we have the blue thruster effect parts. These are pretty standard in most robot Damashis. Of course, depending on the unit, depending on like what series it's from, these designs could be changed or may look different. But once again, we have these standard ones. And then now, since the Efreet Custom has the exam system, when it goes exam, obviously the eyes goes red, and then even the thrusters go red as well. Of course, depending on like what version you've seen, or maybe in a trailer of a certain game, sometimes the Blue Destiny, not the Blue Destiny, the Efreet Custom would have these flames on its back. So they even gave you these effect parts to replicate that effect as well. So these parts are technically supposed to slap here onto the backpack in a sense like this, so where you connect the sword, so like that. So I'll show you guys a demonstration later, but once again, this looks absolutely way better than just not having this. And then here, obviously, they also give you a set of red thrusters, because when the exam system is on, obviously every like performance, the boost power has been increased like very highly. So once again, to replicate that, they also give you red thruster parts. These are, as far as I know, are very unique to this unit, as far as I know. And then for the eyes, now there is one slight issue I have with the mono eye, but once again, to replicate the moment when it activates the exam system, its eyes glows like much more brighter. They give you a quick flash, and to replicate that, they give you this effect part, its own unique effect part, which I will show how it looks like and how you attach it later. But it's and the way how they did it is pretty interesting. But I think they could have done something a little bit more, but I'll get into that later. All right, so let me get off the stand and let's see what we got. Now, being Ver Anime, I have no doubts that the articulation is going to be good, and I think they did a pretty good job as well, considering that considering even with the proportions they went with as well. All right, so let's start with the head. Now, proportion-wise, it may look a little bit wonky depending on how you look at it, but I think they definitely wanted to go with the art style, the original like Gundam's, like the 1 Year War or the Gundam art style that we saw originally. So not the ones that you see in a box art, but the one if you go to Wiki and you see how they actually look like in the anime. I think they did a pretty good job on that. All right, let's start with the head. Now the head, definitely not. We've seen Efreets a lot in my channel, so nothing too different there. But once again, I think they did a pretty good job with the proportions to make it look more Ver Anime-esque. So they have more black surface area, the eyes more pinkish, and you can see there's a lot of like extra space in the black area. So I think they did a pretty good job as well. So the head can go down that much, a little bit too much, to the point where if you look at it from here, it looks kind of awkward. And what they did is that they have your typical neck joint here, but they also added another joint here. So which is why if you look at it from here, it definitely looks awkward, concerning because the added head design of the Efreet is also makes it a little bit awkward. But the good thing is that it can look upwards pretty well, to the point where its neck is coming out. So yeah, kind of interesting design here. But once again, yeah, and as you just saw, the head antenna does pop out a little bit easily. So compared to a regular Zaku or Goof, the head antenna for the Efreet is slightly smaller as far as I can tell. Smaller than your typical one as far as I can tell. Sorry about that, something's hitting me. There we go. All right, so which is why the connection is a little bit, a little bit weakish. So once again, do be careful not when you're moving the head, you might accidentally knock the head off. I mean the antenna off. And just to give you guys a little bit additional bonus information here, so what you can do is you can actually take this gray part off. If I can't, there we go. You can take this gray part off, and you can see there is like a handle here. What you can do is that you can actually push this down a little bit more to make the eyes go downwards, or the back way to go a little bit more upwards. So there is a way, there is a slight control gimmick here to control the mono eye up and down, but you can also rotate this to make it go side to side. But if you rotate it 180, it will reveal a hole here. So that is where you plug in that effect part. And here's the problem. That is it. There's no other eye there. So technically, depending on your perspective or depending on how you look at it, when the exam system is on, some say it's still the same pink mono eye. Some say it's the red. The mono eye should also become red. So that might be a little bit issue to some people. But once again, just be aware. Or if you're capable, you can rotate the eye where there's nothing in there, and you can give it a red sticker or paint job. So who knows? All right, so now looking at the arms here, the arms can go 360, no big deal. For now, I'm just gonna leave the horn off just to make sure that I don't lose it. So arm can go 360, no big deal. And then going to the side, 90 degrees, no big deal. You have the rotation here on the entire arm, 360, no big deal. All right, now here is the interesting part. Oh, actually, give me a moment. There we go. Here is the interesting part. Now, this also, they did consider the Alex syndrome. What is the Alex syndrome? Once again, if you look at the NT1 Gundam Alex, they always have the Gatling guns on the side, but that means when you consider that to a human, the human arm can only bend when the side part is actually facing backwards. So the only way you can actually bend the arm is when the Gatling gun is on the back side, not on the side. But once again, in this case, they also consider that, so they actually made the joints rotate like this and then have the bending point or moving point here, so that even though this thing is on the side, you can actually bend the arm 90 degrees. That is absolutely fantastic. I'm really glad they considered that as well. And if you want to go more, you can always rotate it and go even more. So really depends on how you want to do things. But in this case, you might want to be like this, because here there are no specific because of the design here, they have an extra handguard-ish design here. So when you're holding the sword, you're not going to be able to hold it like this because of this lower section. So which is why you're always going to be holding the sword and have the hand/arm position like this. And also we also have these small grenade launchers that are on the arms. And if you want to go a little bit more technical, let's say he used it, and if you don't want to show that, you can actually take this off and then reattach it to make it look like he already used those as well. Because once again, the Efreet Custom is much more meant for a close combat type rather than a long range. So it's kind of makes sense that he doesn't have much long range weapons. So yeah, it is possible to make it look like he already used it. All right, now looking at the body here. Once again, I've gone through a few boxes to make sure I wanted to get the most cleanest version. So one thing I've noticed is the cockpit here. Some of them would have like a nub mark, a very small visible nub mark. So I made sure the one I picked didn't have that. So I think I did a good job on choosing that. You do get a very nice ab crunch bend going on here. It goes up pretty well as well. And then since the cable is not connected to the well, design-wise, it may look like it's connected to the lower waist, but it's actually on the top section. So rotating side to side is possible. Now 360, I don't think it's possible unless you force it. So once again, up to you. So they did a pretty good job here as well. And then the front skirts are slightly limited because of the design. But they do move. Back skirt does not move. And then we have the side skirts that do move a bit as well. Sorry for my phone, something is ringing. All right, and then leg-wise, we get your typical. We have a ball joint connection here, and then I believe we do technically have a side swivel, but it's just too tight to the point where it's kind of hard to tell because it's moving together with the ball joint. Going forward 90 degrees is almost possible. It's just the front skirt that's blocking the way. Bend wise, we get a 90-degree bend, which I think it's enough for what this is as well. And then going to the side is also possible, but not all the way because of these side skirts. So you might need to work your way around if you want to go more. And then we have these missile launchers, which is pretty unique and weapon for this mobile suit. Although there is another like Pale Rider unit that does use it, but once again, that's because they pretty much wanted to go with a similar setup like the Efreet Custom. So yeah. And once again, here we can actually, if you want to, you can detach these weapons if you want to do so. So if you want to go like with a very intense like diorama where he used all his long range weapons and wants to show that he's taking these off, you can definitely do that as well. Alright, and then feet-wise is a ball jointed connection, so you can actually pull this out to reveal a little more joints like that, although I'm not sure when you'll be using it like this, but just wanted to show you guys that the joints are ball joints like that for the main connection. So you do get a decent pivot, although because of the feet being a little bit on the large side, it might be hindered by that as well. But once again, works very well. And then you have, give me a moment. There we go. And you have all these thruster holes that you can attach the booster effect parts. Right here, and then I believe you can also attach one here and here as well. Alright, so we've seen the basic articulation of this unit, so for now I'll be right back with the equipment and we'll show you guys the first demonstration. Okay, I'm back. So here we have the first demonstration here. So what I'm using at the moment is obviously the double blades. And once again, I'm using the thruster parts connected to the backpack on the thrusters, but keep in mind you can always connect these onto these small yellow thrusters here. There is a small hole here, so if you want to, you can also connect it here if you want to do so. And same goes for the feet. There is one hole there, so you can do that as well. And once again, I'm also using that extra connecting point for the action base here, so it's using that extension joint so that it's not, so the main joint connecting point is not between the legs. So once again, it helps a lot. And this pose, once again, I'm trying to base it on a specific pose I saw on the game where the Efreet, once you use its attacks, it usually goes a close range and then would fire these grenade launchers onto the arm and then strike the enemy. So yeah, so it's like multiple combo attacks. Once again, it works very well. I have no complaints here as well. And once again, because this is a figure and it has pretty well a lot of articulated points, I think you can anybody who gets this figure, you can pretty much do whatever pose you want to do so, as long as it's in its limits. Alright, so I think there's only one thing left to show, and that is the exam activation effect part. So I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. So here we have the final demonstration here. So once again, I pretty much attached all the exam effect related parts. So once again, the flame effect parts on the back, this is absolutely like gorgeous. I think they did an excellent job, although I think it would have been even more perfect if the flames were a little bit more bigger, so maybe 2 to 3 times bigger, so that you have even a larger range of flames showing, because it seems like it's still being covered up depending on the angle. But yeah, nonetheless, they did an absolute fantastic job in that, and the mono-eye glow effect part. Once again, I think that's a very unique, its own unique effect part. If there is another mobile suit out there that uses that, do let me know. But once again, this is my first time seeing that, so that absolutely fabulous. Once again, the only part that I wish was that there was just a regular red mono eye rather than just the pink and then the hole. But once again, absolutely fantastic. And once again, the red effect parts, you can use these any way you want, but for just to show you guys the red one, I just slap these onto the side, so no big deal. And anyway, that is pretty much it for the review. So if you are a big fan of like Zeon mobile suits, or especially like you enjoyed the Blue Destiny series, whenever you series, the Blue Destiny story, sorry about that. If you enjoyed the Blue Destiny storyline and then you want to have like representations of those mobile suits in figure wise, I think this is a very like must-have one among the ones that exist. So once you get this, I think like getting the Blue Destiny Unit 1 or maybe 2 might be like mandatory, but other than that, yeah. So once I get the Blue Destiny Unit 1, I think I'll be very satisfied with having it with next to this as well. Anyway, thanks for watching the review. This was a review of the Robot Damashii Efreet Custom Ver anime. If you guys got any questions or requests, leave a comment below. I still have more stuff to buy and build and make reviews out, so please stay tuned. Until then, see you guys next time.